Good morning, Grade 8 Mahogany. How are you today? For this week, we are going to have a new topic in science. It is entitled Understanding Typhoons. First, let us know the objective of today's lessons. For the objectives, define the tropical depression in terms of its category and the impact of damage. Illustrate the points of the PAR. And lastly, demonstrate the precautionary measures before, during, and after the typhoon. To start with, what you commonly experience during typhoons? Yes, do you experience heavy rainfall? How about strong winds? Sometimes there's no power, that's why you should stay inside your houses. So, those are just few things that you experience whenever there is a typhoon. So let's read. According to the Philippine Atmospheric Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration or the PAG-ASA, about 20 tropical cyclones enter the Philippine Area of Responsibility or what we call the PAR each year. So, can you name some typhoons that entered the Philippines from the previous years? Yes, we have Quinta. Very good. We have Rolly. Yes, we have Ondoy. Correct, we have Yolanda. Very good, students. So that's why PAG-ASA states that about 20 tropical cyclones enter the PAR each year. PAR meaning Philippine Area of Responsibility. So take note of that. Next, what is typhoon? So in this slide, we can see the top view image of a typhoon entering the PAR. Later on, I'll be showing you the parts of this typhoon. So, what is typhoon? So, wind in a typhoon move in a certain direction. They go around a central area. The appearance of the clouds in a typhoon are in a spiral arrangement. They are being blown by winds in a counterclockwise direction. Typhoon is a tropical cyclone, but when it enters the Philippines, we Filipinos call it bagyo. It is an intense circular storm that originates over warm tropical oceans and is characterized by low atmospheric pressure, high winds, and heavy rains. Also, we have here the wind blows in a counterclockwise direction. How does it move? So, when you take a look at an analog clock, it moves the other way around. Let's proceed. So, tropical cyclone is a system of thunderstorms that are moving around the center. As the winds intensify or weaken, the category is upgraded or downgraded accordingly. So, we have here a note, Bagyo is called tropical cyclone by scientists in the Philippines. So, here are the four categories. Okay, so before the four categories, so we have here the image of the bagyo or a tropical cyclone. So as you can notice here are the parts of the tropical cyclones. So we have here the eye. The eye is the center of the tropical cyclone. We also have here the inner rain band. So as you can notice in our image, so we can see the inner rain band. And lastly, we have here the outer rain band. So these three are the parts of a tropical cyclone. So moving on, here are the four categories of a typhoon. So please take note of this category so that we will be able to categorize how strong the typhoon are. So on the first column, we have the tropical depression, we have the tropical storm, the typhoon, and lastly, we have the super typhoon. For the second column, we have here the maximum speed in kilometer per hour. So to interpret the table number 1 entitled Tropical Cyclone Categories, first, category number 1 or the tropical cyclone has the maximum speed with a 64 km per hour. Second, we have the tropical storm having a maximum speed of 118 km per hour. Third, we have typhoon having a maximum speed of 200 km per hour. And lastly, the super typhoon having a maximum speed greater than 200 kilometers per hour. So those are the categories of a tropical cyclone. Next, for us to know the extent of damage in every typhoon category, let us have this table entitled Revised Public Storm Warning System. So we have here 5 PSWS, or the Public Storm Warning System. On the second column, we had the lead time in hours. On the third column, we have the wind in kilometer per hour. And on the last column is the impact of the wind. So let us interpret the table. So for PSWS number 1 with a lead time of 36 hours having a wind of 30 to 60 km per hour, the impact of the wind is no damage to very light damage. Next, PSWS number 2 with a lead time of 24 hours having a wind of 62 to 120 km per hour, the impact of the wind is light to moderate. Next, PSWS number 3 having with a lead time of 18 hours, having a wind of 121 to 170 km per hour, the impact of the wind is moderate to heavy damage. Next, PSWS number 4 with a lead time of 12 hours, with a wind of 171 to 220 km per hour, the impact of the wind is from heavy to very heavy damage. And lastly, number 5, PSWS number 5 with a lead time of 12 hours, having a wind of more than 200 km per hour, the impact of the wind is very heavy to widespread damage. So this is the table number 2, or what we call the revised public storm warning system. Next, to visualize, we hear weathercasters talk about typhoons, hurricanes, and cyclones. So what's the difference between those three? Again, so what do you think are the difference of typhoon, hurricane, and cyclones? So let's see. So the typhoon, hurricanes, and cyclones. First, typhoon, cyclones, and hurricanes are the same weather phenomenon. The difference in the geographical area where they occur. They are tropical cyclones with regional specific names. Number 1, the term typhoon is used only in the northwestern part of the Pacific Ocean. Take note of that. Cyclones occur in the South Pacific and Indian Ocean. Third one, in the northeastern part of the Pacific Ocean and in the northern part of the Atlantic Ocean, the equivalent term is hurricane. So, thus, a hurricane on one side of the Pacific Ocean will be called a typhoon if it crosses into the other side. So, to visualize, so we have here hurricane which occur in the northeastern part of the Pacific Ocean. As you can notice on our image, we have here 2 hurricanes. They are occurring in the northeastern part of the Pacific Ocean and also in the northern part of the Atlantic Ocean. That's why we have here 2 hurricanes. Next, we also have the cyclone which occur in the South Pacific and in Indian Ocean. And lastly, the typhoon that occurs in the northwestern part of the ocean, that is what we call the typhoon. Okay, is everything clear? That's great. Okay, so now, are you ready for a task? Let us have the learning task number 1. Okay, for the learning task number 1, analyze and give an interpretation about each picture below. Okay, first, so what can you say about the first picture? Again, what can you say about the first picture? Yes, we can see garbage around. What else? Yes, there are devastated houses. Yes, also a ship that was carried by strong waves. That's why it was there on the land. So how do we interpret the image number 1? Okay, how do we interpret the image number 1? So as an interpretation, the first picture shows happening after a strong typhoon crosses a certain place. Okay, so this first picture shows what are the happenings after the typhoon crosses a certain place. Next. So very good, students. You were able to analyze the picture number 1. Number 2. How about this image number 2? Yes, we can see the map of the Philippines. What else? Yes, we also have an intense circular storm. So how do we interpret image number 2? As an interpretation, so the second picture shows a tropical cyclone that will cross the Philippines. That's brilliant. So very good for your interpretation. How about this third and fourth picture? So now let's proceed to this third picture first. So what is your analysis with this third picture? Yes, we can see the process of evaporation. So as you can see, there are water vapors that rises above, just like in number 4. So, as an interpretation, both pictures shows warm moist water that rises above the atmosphere, or what we call, yes, the process of evaporation. Okay, so do you have any question in learning task number 1? Or any additional information that you know for us to have a better interpretation? Okay, so everything is clear. Now, for the next learning task, you are going to answer the question and write it on your answer sheet. So for this learning task, so you should have your paper with you. So you're going to answer these 2 questions. Write it on your paper, okay? For the first question, what are the different typhoon categories and their relationship to their speed and extent of damage? So, a while ago, I was able to describe it and explain it. So, I hope you have your answer for question number 1. Next, number 2, when do you consider that a typhoon will enter or affect the country? Okay, so you are going to write your answer on a separate sheet of paper. So that is for learning task number 2. Okay, so you're going to pass it on the retrieval day. Okay, so now let us have the Philippine Area of Responsibility, or what we call the PAR. Okay, again, so moving on, we have the Philippine Area of Responsibility. What do you know about this PAR or PAR? So this slide shows the PAR. Okay, so this slide shows the PAR that is zoned with the letters from A to F. So what are the points of the PAR? Since you are grade 8 students, you should know how to plot points in a Cartesian plane. Given the following coordinates, let's have the points of the PAR. Points are labeled as capital letters A, B, C, D, and F. So the y-axis will serve as the latitude and the x-axis will serve as the longitude. Now, let us plot the points of the PAR. Okay, so point A is located with coordinates of 115 degree east as its longitude and 5 degree north as its latitude. So as you can see in our picture, point A is located over there. So having the coordinates of 115 degree east and 5 degree north. Next, point B is located having 115 degree east and 15 degree north. So point B is located on that place, having those coordinates. Next, point C is located at 120 degree east and 21 degree north. Okay, so as you can notice, point C is plotted over there. Next, point D is located at 120 degree east and 25 degree north. Okay, that is for letter D or plot D. Next, for letter E, it is located at 125 degree east and 35 degree north. Okay, we can see letter E over there. And lastly, we have letter F with the point or the coordinate of 135 degree east and 5 degree north. Okay, so those are the points of the PAR. Next, so let's read. Under what conditions do tropical cyclones form? Where did the tropical cyclones form? On land or in the ocean? So students, what do you think? Where does it form? Okay. So this graphic organizer will help us know how does a tropical cyclone form. Let's read. The first step, as you can notice here, number 1, warm, moist air moves over the ocean. Number 2, water vapor rises into the atmosphere. Number 3, as the water vapor rises, it cools and condenses into liquid droplets. Number 4, condensation releases heat into the atmosphere, making the air lighter. And number 5, the warm air continues to rise with moist air from the ocean taking its place, creating more wind. So, additional information, the warm ocean water heats up the air above it. The warm air then rises. The rising water results in a low pressure area. Air in the surroundings will then move toward the area. And also, tropical cyclones usually form where there is warm water. The temperature should be 26 degree or 26.5 degrees Celsius or more. So these are the requirements on how a typhoon formed. Next, what can you say about the temperature of the bodies of water in the vicinity of the Philippines? Is it warm or cold? How does it affect the formation of the cyclones? So what do you think, students? So for us to answer this, let us have this learning task number 4. Okay, for this learning task number 4, shown below are the tracks or paths of 4 tropical cyclones that entered the PAR in the past years. The tracks were plotted by Pag-asa. Study and analyze the maps. Okay, so in what direction did the tropical cyclones move? So in this slide, we have here 4 kinds or 4 types of tropical cyclones that passes in the previous years. First, we have Harurot on 2003. So, Bagyong Harurot started before entering the PAR and ended outside the PAR. Next, we have here the Agaton in 2002. Bagyong Agaton formed already inside the PAR and ended at the northern part of the Luzon. Next, we have here Bagyong Yoyong. So, Bagyong Yoyong in 2004 started before entering the PAR and crosses the Luzon, then already went outside the PAR but changes its wind blowing to the southern part of Taiwan. So, southern part of the Taiwan is where Bagyong Yoyong ends. And lastly, we have Bagyong Waning in 2005. So, it formed inside the PAR and ended at the southern part of China. So now, let's answer the guide questions. So the guide questions, number 1, where did the tropical cyclone form? Is it on land or in the ocean? So students, after describing the 4 maps, okay, let us answer the following guide questions. So what do you think, students, is the answer in guide question number 1? Correct. So, it occurred in the ocean. So, that's good. Number 2. What can you tell about the track of the typhoon in 2003 and 2004? Anyone? Yes, very good. So, you can say that it is warm. Very good. Next, third one. In what direction did the tropical cyclone move? So, I was able to show you a while ago the directions. Yes, very good. In northwest direction. So, that's a brilliant answer. Number 4. Which part of the Philippines was hit by the 4 tropical cyclones? So, what do you think is the answer for number 4? Very good, Luzon. So, as you can notice, so the 4 tropical cyclones that hit the Philippines is Luzon, okay? And lastly, number 5. In the case of Agathon, Yoyong, and Waning, where did they where did they die out? Near land or in the middle of the ocean? So what do you think is what is your interpretation in question number 5? Yes, they died out over the land because they need warm water to sustain them. So very good answer. Next. Okay. So you are all doing great. At this time, I'll be showing you a video clip that contains the precautionary measures before, during, and after the typhoon. Enjoy watching! Okay, so after watching the videos, you are going to accomplish the table from learning task number 5. You're going to write down the things to do before, during, and after the typhoon in each column. So do this in your answer sheet. Okay? Is there any question for this learning task number 5? So after watching the video, you are going to write your observations before, during, and after the typhoon. So you can refer on the video watched earlier. Okay, so you're going to do this in your answer sheet. Okay, now let us have the evaluation. For learning task number 6, choose the letter of the correct answer. So let us do this orally. Okay, number 1. From what bodies of water do typhoons originate? Is it A, ocean, B, lakes, C, rivers, or D, streams? Yes, your answer is ocean, letter A. Very good. Next, number 2. The name of the typhoon that caused great floods in Metro Manila that resulted to many damaged houses and properties in 2009. Is it A, Idang, B, Mando, C, Kuring, or D, Ondoy? So which do you think? Very good. The answer is D, Ondoy. Number 3. Name the agencies of the government that monitors typhoon in the Philippines. Is it letter A, DOST, letter B, Pag-asa, letter C, PhilVox, or letter D, DENR? So what do you think is the best answer? Very good. Letter B, Pag-asa. For number 4, it is rotating storm system characterized by a low pressure center, strong winds, and a spiral arrangement of thunderstorms that produce heavy rain. Is it A, rain, B, tropical cyclone, C, snow, or D, sandstorm? What do you think is the best answer? Very good. Letter B, tropical cyclone. And last, number 5. What is the name of the big body of water that is where almost all typhoon that passes in our country? Is it letter A, Indian Ocean, B, West Philippine Sea, C, Atlantic Ocean, or D, Pacific Ocean? So which among the 4? That's great. The correct answer is Pacific Ocean. So very good, students. So this ends our lesson for today. Goodbye.